So, welcome to the episode of Marketing Think Tank.
Thank you.
So, we are here to dive deep into the ever evolving landscape of real estate marketing. But before we start with that, I'm very interested to know how your journey led to where you are. You both have achieved a certain milestone in your current company. But I'm very curious to know, I'm sure our audience are also very curious to know what led you to be here where you are, especially when it's talked about real estate marketing. Let's start with you.
Thanks. So my journey, it's been quite interesting. I have always been, inclined towards the creative side of things. So growing up, watching ads, wondering how that script happened and how the entire idea came about and how the products were marketed. And I got into, learning advertising in college itself. And then I had a few stints in advertising. And I think I really enjoyed myself when it came to advertising. But there was one thing which I always realized, that when I was doing client servicing, these ideas in terms of what the company wanted to communicate were already pre-formed within the company itself. And that's when I said that, I just don't want to handle communication. I want to handle all of it. I want to create that idea which led to that communication, which led to that product. So that's when I sort of did my MBA. I did my master's in marketing. And straight out of that, I got a great opportunity in real estate. And that was, when you're in MBA and you're doing marketing, everyone's looking at the FMCGs of the world. Everyone's looking at Apple, HUL, P&Gs, and those brands up there. Amul, everyone wants to do marketing for Amul. But there's a whole world out of all of that. And I'm very glad that I got into real estate. And I would, if I had another opportunity, I would do it all over again.
What about you, Satanik?
So it's a little versatile background, I would say. So my study says that I'm a biotechnologist. So that's how I started. But what intrigued me that point of time, more than me doing those wet lab, dry lab testing, how those patents are being marketed. That intrigued me that point of time while I was doing my graduation, and that led me for my MBA. MBA, of course, my specialization was marketing, and as he rightly said, that the dream job, the dream companies would be those FMCGs. I also got into one. So my career start happened with Nestlé. So Nestlé, thankfully, I was in a division which is not in Nestlé. In fact, all the companies I've worked with, it was not the typical division which runs the company, right? So for Nestlé, it is more like a retail dominated company, right? But where I was, it was NPD, New Product Development and Corporate Activation. So while I was there with the team's effort, we launched Maggi coconut milk powder and Nestea iced tea premix in India. So coconut milk powder was a Sri Lanka made product. It was imported over here.
And I happened to in fact see it in Sri Lanka.
Oh, awesome.
And picked up a few also.
Nice. So the job profile was even more interesting. You go to the star hotels, sit with the executive chef, give them the sample, sit with them while they cook, and get their advice that which dish it will be more suited for, right? So then you take that input, give it to the brand team, they prepare the communication accordingly, and then product comes out in the market. So that was my first job in Nestlé. And then of course the corporate activation, that how do you make sure your corporate visibility is there, the institutional visibility is more dominant, right? You go to any hotel today, the in-room, your coffee powder, your milk sachet, it should be Nescafe, it should be Sunrise, or it could be that crema which Nestle produce. So that's how the visibility, merchandising, and all those things came into picture. But what I figured out that it's a vast ocean, right? So whatever you do, you're one out of that 1 lakh people, which is already existing. I always had that craving of doing something new, doing something very different. That point of time, I joined Times of India. So again, Times of India, not that print vertical, 2010 and 11 I'm talking about. I joined TIL, Times Internet Limited. Internet was very new at that point of time, right? So I had to explain what is impression. Now, today's date, it is obsolete, right? So I remember, there were a few CMOs I had to interact with, part of brand solutions team. Part of that brand solution come sales, who's to explain how impression works. Like if you scroll down, your impression gone, that counts as one impression. Those kind of questions I used to answer back then. Slowly, steadily it evolved. So Magic Bricks was part of TIL, right? So that's how my real estate orientation started happening, right? So while I was in Times, I got a great opportunity. That point of, I'm thankful to that opportunity today. One of the leaderships of Times, they moved and joined hands with the founder of commonfloat.com.
Okay.
Right, so it was very nascent stage of CommonFlow. They just got in some incubation, money to start off from Excel Partners, and that's how he joined and he pulled me in. So I was one of their initial members, building that brand from scratch, and moved on to 30 different cities, scaled up to very different level altogether, ran for 3 years, then got sold to Quicker. So that is my real estate, I would say incubation/induction. But what I figured then that whatever I could do in FMCG/established sector, it was already been done by somebody else. But in real estate, that was all new.
So
Like you do something that is new in real estate. I remember in 2012-13, today we talk about VR and all those things in real estate, right? We experimented with Google Cardboard. So we developed an app which is integrated with your smartphone. Push that smartphone in VR, that Google Card, we introduced that product as CF Retina. So that point of time we experimented with it, and it's a very new product. Maybe something, it was like Orkut of the world, not the Facebook. So that's how it fizzled out that point of time. So real estate happened then. Then I was an individual consultant. I founded my own companies, which is again into real estate walkthroughs, like the creative part. Being an individual consultant, I handled major brands in South, especially in Bangalore. Then worked with a couple of developers, and here I am with the real estate marketing piece, being my very, very, I would say, passion-driven profession.
So, what I have noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong, even the experiences that you have mentioned, be FMCG or be any other industry, where the product has to come and there is a proper template, right? You come up with the product, you do R&D and you launch. It's not going to be continuous launches in every month or
True.
continuous in a year. You won't maybe go beyond 2 product
for sure,
launch, right?
yeah.
Real estate makes you on edge because here customer behavior is changing and evolving over the time, and demands are different. They are intelligent. They know what to, have in terms of the amenities or have in terms of the quality and everything. What would you say over the time, how the consumer behavior has changed, especially post-pandemic, and how do you incorporate such changes when you notice in consumers, especially in your marketing strategies?
So what we have seen, pandemic has been life-changing event for all of us, right? So the whole concept of YOLO, you only live once, has probably taken a light bit of shift, right? So earlier, everybody used to believe in, especially millennials and the young age buyers, they used to believe in asset-light model, right? I won't buy, I will rent it out. They were more focused on experience. They still are. But people have understood the importance of a shelter. That basics of roti, kapra, makan have come into more dominant existence, I would say. Affordable. So similarly, you will see in the real estate segment as well, the affordable segment has moved to the mid-market segment, right? That extra half bedroom / 1 bedroom has come into more importance. I can attribute it to the work from home culture. I can attribute it to more people staying together, the family being little enlarged, the parents moving in together for medical reasons, for health reasons, for whatever it is. So as consumer behavior, what we have seen, the demand for a larger house have come into existence. And so as the developers are also looking at it, right? So earlier that 700 square feet, 800 square feet buyer are today looking at 1000 square feet, 1200 square feet with an extra bedroom space. So being a marketer, we are also focusing on those aspects, right? So your work from home is sorted. That's the interior part of it. Now I'm talking about the overall project per se, right? So if you have pergola, or if you have a sitting pod in your amenity, you're making it Wi-Fi enabled. So why do you restrict your work from home from half a bedroom? You can work from anywhere you want. we are trying to accommodate a co-working space within the clubhouse amenities. So a lot of developers are trying to improvise as per the COVID generated needs, right? So that's how the marketing needs and marketing communications are also getting evolved around it. So yeah.
But as Satanik is defining 100,000 square feet in 12,000 or 1,200 square feet, it can happen in Bengaluru market, right? I'm sure. But you coming from Bombay market, you know the limitations when you have to incorporate this customer change on behavior. How do you do that, especially in the Bombay market?
Bombay market is, if I have to say, is very, very similar to New York market, where it's absolutely vertical. There's no space horizontally. And, in fact, Narang Realty has been at the forefront of creating larger spaces. So always it was the vision of our directors to supersize apartments, because they always saw that there was always a requirement. Now, if I have to, add to the whole COVID story, what happened, there was at one point of time, I'm saying, say about 30-40 years ago, when apartments used to be fairly large, people wanted spaces, which started reducing because people were looking at the budget. And then it became all about companies trying to create a home within a budget. So they were sort of reverse engineering the house basis of the budget. So if they can manage to fit a 500 square feet apartment in a 1 crore, so be it. And customers were buying it also, because people were thinking that they're spending 12 hours out of the home because they're traveling to work, they're at work, they're coming back, they're just crashing at night. So people were sort of okay with that space. And then comes COVID, and that's an absolute speed breaker, an absolute dead end, where people were stuck within those 500 square feet homes and realized that there is no breathing space, there's not enough ventilation, enough light coming in. And then people said that, okay, let's value our time more. Luckily, this whole work from home shift came about, and a lot of people that I know who never even heard of work from home, it existed earlier, but had the options and the opportunity of working from home. I do know people who've even willing to sort of sacrifice how much they're earning just because they want to work from home. And companies have also, taken that on board. So that home became a little more important, that balcony became a little more important, that extra half a room which can be used as a study room or a work from home room became more important, so that half room is occupied and the rest of the house functions as it is. And also simultaneously there's been a play for real estate projects not being just about the home anymore. It's more like a hospitality project now. And earlier what used to happen, and I think it still happens in smaller towns, is that you have your home, and then you have a membership of a large gymkhana nearby, where you're going every morning and you're going and doing swimming, or you're playing tennis and coming back, or you're doing it after work. And in Mumbai, you just don't have the time to go to the gymkhanas, and the few gymkhanas which are there are exorbitant. So whatever real space which is there, limited space which is there, the developers in Bombay are just trying to take the key amenities which are just about important to that customer and trying to fit them in the smaller spaces that we have. And that's where you sort of see that Mumbai is saturated. There's no space out here, so developers are sort of putting the amenities on the rooftop because there is space out there, there's an opportunity there. Or they're moving larger projects towards Navi Mumbai, or they're moving them to Thane for that matter, where there are larger land parcels. And I have seen a strong shift. There are people who are taking that drastic decision of moving out of the heart of Mumbai city into a suburb, and which is honestly, if you have to see a lot of global cities, if I have to talk about, whether it is Melbourne or Sydney in Australia, or it's say for example New Jersey and New York, and you see the outskirts of London, the culture of moving into the suburbs to create space for yourself is strongly there, and I see that happening clearly in India. We're not far behind from that.
So when it comes to Bengaluru market, could you highlight what are the important facts that you keep in mind, because that's the customer of Bengaluru wants when you are coming with a project? and how different it is when you're talking about two customers of the same. People consider real estate ke projects and real estate customers same hoga, but could you shed light on that how different it is?
Sure. So Bangalore real estate buyers, if I see them out, probably in general Bangalore crowd is a very cosmopolitan crowd, right? So we have seen influx from all across India. That being the Silicon City, majority of them are working in IT hubs. So people are from all across India. Now their demand over there, I would say, is very, very practical, right? There are 2-3 segments of buyers. Of course, that depends on the real estate asset classes which we're talking about. So you'll have a defined investor class, which is more like the native Bangaloreans who have their old houses in the older parts of Bangalore, which is southern part and western part of Bangalore, right? So you have that buyers who will be investing in plotted developments, which is happening in upcoming developing area. Second part is people who are coming in, the migrants, right? So who are coming in to work over there. So they would need a practical living space, which has your sorted interior. Like you don't want a very cramped space to live in. They would enjoy the spaces, what we call it, most miles per square feet, right? So you have the practical living. You don't want a luxurious foyer. You don't want a very big living hall. But if you have a decent one, which can accommodate a 55 inches television with a decent space, with a 5-seater sofa, and then a space for a dining, things like that, they are sorted. What they also want is a community space, right? What we are seeing, this set of buyers, right? So they would like to roam across. They would want to have their health regime, sorted with a jogging track, with probably some sporting facilities and amenities. They would prefer a yoga / meditation deck, or they would prefer an amphitheater where they can have some social events and things like that. They would need a provision for some supermarkets or maybe an ATM or a pharmacy. Those kind of things are in demand today in the practical buyer segment. And the third segment is the luxurious, real estate asset classes. In Bangalore standard, it could be somewhere like 2.5 crores upwards, right? So that's Bangalore standard I'm talking about. I'm not comparing with Mumbai. But that segment also has a need and hunger for larger spaces, right? They don't mind moving a little out of the core city towards the airport side in Bangalore, which is North Bangalore, which is developing right now. You have large size plots getting sold, large villas getting sold. So those are in demand for the luxury segment as well. And of course, there are some CBD driven housing, right? So that is for the business class who prefers to stay within the city limit and do their business. So 3 segments, as I said. One is the investor class. One would be the practical buyers who would need for their living, probably the first time buyer or aspirants, or they're upgrading from a small town to Bangalore, right?
So in your projects, what is your customer profile like? Are they the first time buyers, or are they like more, as he mentioned, some people have the houses there? So how would you define your customer profile?
So we have a very clear idea that we want to target customers who are definitely not buying their first home. So our audiences are more mature. They would, in terms of age profile, would be say about 35 plus. They are definitely wanting to up their lifestyle. They're wanting to move from their existing family home or a joint family, or even if it's a nuclear family, but a place where they sort of lacked that sort of lifestyle and lifestyle amenities, and they're wanting to move into spaces which are which has everything for everybody, or something for everybody. So our audience, so that's our clear vision, and that's exactly how we go about designing every single product. And when we're talking about these audiences, they're so mature, they're so well traveled, they're so they have a certain flair and a certain taste for things. So it becomes very important for us to curate that experience for them. To ensure that things that we're doing for them, nothing is gimmicky. It's everything. We're putting ourselves in their footsteps every single day, putting ourselves in their shoes every single day, and trying to understand that what is the life that they want to live. And we go about creating that sort of those set of amenities and those sort of experiences for them, whether it is the moment when he's driving into his complex with what sort of a foyer is he expecting, to what sort of a home and the layout that he wants, and the way he sort of looks at his daily life as well as his social life, as well as entertaining guests, to all of that, so that all goes into designing every single product that we do.
So the customers, sorry.
I would like to add one of the incidents what we experienced. So right after COVID, once the world opened up, so we launched one of our projects. There's a place called Whitefield in Bangalore, which is more like an IT hub, and very young population they work over there, right? So young IT crowd and all. So we launched a product which is like configuration wise 700 square feet to around 1100 square feet. That's the configuration. So what we figured out that the buyer segment, you mentioned about 35 plus is your buyer segment. What we figured out that our buyer segment is around 30 plus, right? The 5 years younger, because of the segment we play in. Shriram Properties, that point of time, what we saw that market has a good buyer base between 25 to 30. If I reduce my that age profile by 5 years, I could generate some 10 lakh plus buyers in that same micro market itself. So we did our pricing and the scheme, basically, what you need to invest right now, what kind of help you get from the banks, what kind of help you get from the developers in terms of maintaining your EMI plus rent during the construction period. We worked out on that particular piece, and you won't believe that right after COVID, we were a little skeptic that what kind of response we might get, but people were saving a lot of money that point of time, right? So it was a tremendous response by reducing that age group by 4-5 years. That 10 lakh segment could buy our property. So we are almost that first 3 months of that launch, we could sell out some 70% of our inventories. So that was a nice case study what we did in terms of playing with buyers' age group. If you can make a product which is we call it product market fit, but if you can create a category itself for a separate age group altogether, it can make a success. So